Omega, 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 Omega.
Omega men have traveled far, guided by a lamp and by a star.
You need a foundation to thrive in life. And what better foundation is there than to have a friend for support, for love? When you feel as though you can't push forward, that friend, that brother, that man of Omega is there to support you, to balance you out, to push you forward, to tell you that you can and you will achieve what it is you're choosing to accomplish.
Omega Psi Phi will always be our home.
Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated, for me, is the greatest fraternity in the world because it is the only fraternity that is founded on friendship. So what drew me to the chapter was the camaraderie within the brothers within the chapter.
Psi Phi is my home, and Psi Phi is a family. We have certain principles and certain things that, regardless of where you go or what you do, you are now a part of this thing of ours. And you have to conduct yourself in a certain manner and fashion. And that's a beautiful thing in a way.
You know, historically, people look at African-American organizations as being elitist, particularly sororities, fraternities, but that's not what the obligation of those organizations are about. It's really about service and lifting up others. It was about lifting as we climb, which is one of our implied mottos.
With this idea of friendship is essential to the soul, these kind of implied sayings, lifting as we climb, and reinforcement of service and uplift. And that becomes powerful because it helps us all understand at the same time that the fraternity is not necessarily an organization that seeks to affirm just the individual, but affirms the individual within the context of community. And so it becomes an assault against the rugged individualism that is still rampant and pervasive.
Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated is a grassroots organization founded in friendship and brotherhood. What we are is a group of men who have endeavored to service our communities and bring about change in a positive manner.
When we are in the streets, that people see us and they know who we are. They know the work that we do. So it's not a question. They say, oh, those are the men of Omega Psi Phi, the Psi Phi chapter. They're here to do a food pantry. They're here providing clothes. They're here providing toys. They're here doing voter registration. We want to make sure we have an impact, not just in Harlem, but in the city as a whole, but definitely here in Harlem. This is our foundation, so we want to make sure that we're seen here, that we're heard.
They are actually a group of respectful, knowledgeable, and hardworking men. Sometimes we will see certain things and say, oh, you know, men can't put that together alone. It's not that organized. And I've actually said that, and only to see that it was men of the Psi Phi chapter of Omega Psi Phi fraternity putting on events to the level and caliber of effort that I would see my own chapter's members doing or other sororities doing. And we joke that, you know, sometimes men don't put that much effort or make that much attention to detail, and they absolutely do. They're a set of hardworking men, respectable men, and they really do good work in the community.
I've been working hard for Omega.
Psi Phi chapter was established November 11th, 1926, comprised of a graduate chapter here in New York City, particularly Harlem, of professional men, doctors, lawyers, educators, and everything, who all came together, you know, under the fraternity to serve the community of Harlem, you know, to provide, you know, uplift, which is one of our cardinal principles. In particular, it's important because the history of the Black Renaissance is when the chapter was founded here in New York City. And so that's important because we've had many brothers, you know, throughout the centuries in Psi Phi chapter, including early on, like brothers like Langston Hughes, you know, and many other, like Count Basie, all these folks who have been members of anything like that. But in particular, you know, what's going on with the Harlem Renaissance is, you know, there was a migration, you know, from the South of Southern blacks up north for jobs and everything. So it was also about economic and political empowerment. And so those men who founded or chartered Psi Phi chapter, galvanized that movement.
And I have to believe that when those students, those 3 students and the founder got together on the campus of Howard University, there was something in that moment that pushed them to create an organization that affirmed the best of who we are as African Americans: manhood and scholarship and perseverance and uplift.
The cardinal principles of the Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated: manhood, scholarship, perseverance, and uplift. Of those 4, the one that resonates most with me is uplift. I'm very big on making sure that our fellow man is taken care of, and I think Omega Psi Phi does that better than any other organization. We make sure that people are taken care of on so many different levels, whether it's education, whether it's clothing, whether it's food. We make sure that we uplift our fellow man.
Perseverance, never giving up, continually pushing forward to finish the goal, to finish whatever it is, but never giving up. In life, you are continually battered, if you will, by situations. But what happens is everybody has a plan until you get punched in the mouth. Perseverance says that you get up after that punch and you keep going.
Of the 4 cardinal principles, my favorite is uplift. Because when I was looking for an organization to work, I wanted to, like my mother said, make a difference and be able to work collectively with others so that more people can benefit from when you started. And so mine is uplift, and that's because I get the opportunity to work with many individuals who have wonderful talents, but also to work through organizations so that we can really make a difference. And I think that's key,
I guess as an African American, it would be perseverance. I think scholarship is key, but perseverance, because our history, and again, going back through the ages, not only from 1911 in the fraternity, given what was going on then, but the larger expanse. Without perseverance, we wouldn't be here.
Omega, 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 Omega.
When most folks think of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated, they think of sports athletes. They think of Michael Jordan. They think of Shaquille O'Neal. They think of these magnanimous names. It's like, okay, they're party goers. They see the Qs, the Q dogs, and all these different type of acronyms that have been attached to the Brothers of Omega. But when I think of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated, I know that we're much more than that. Community service is what we are about at our base root. Giving back to our community, building our communities in manners that push humanity forward.
The chapter is very proud of its present in its Black College Tour program, which is running into, I believe, its 35th year now. We have been very active during the COVID epidemic, and in terms of outreach, in terms of supporting the Harlem community in many ways, food pantry, in terms of information, in terms of outreach. And of course, just recently, last year, we were extremely active in the 2020 census. We were out on the streets, we were in the community, we were handing out information and making sure that our people, that is the people of the Harlem community, knew how important getting that census information in was going to be to their future.
Big things is scholarships, so we like to work in tandem with youth organizations, such as Impact, such as the Order of the Feather fraternity, and give back through mentoring, which is key in these communities. And there's so much crime, and there are other things that's affecting our health, other social determinants of health that affect us, particularly now during the COVID-19, but even before that. And so what we try to do is to bring our talents together through health fairs, through voter registration, through reading programs, working in partnership with organizations like Police Athletic League, partnership with the Kennedy Center, which is run by one of our brothers, you know. And so this is important. So we cannot do all the work alone. We know that. And so we have to, you know, galvanize the community and build through our network so that we can have a farther reach than we would, you know, individually as an organization.
Psi Phi chapter has always been involved in 1 Corinthians. In some ways, this is like Psi Phi's spiritual home, so to speak. And we've often had some great partnerships in the past and in the present when it comes to volunteer work, to giving service, whether it be through our biggest event, which is Thanksgiving feeding. Some of the brothers volunteered in our food pantry and a host of other programs that we engage in.
The Bronx Alumni Chapter and the Psi Phi Chapter's partnership goes back many years, whether that's supporting each other's fundraising events or programs. And those programs include the Psi Phi Chapter's Black College Tour, the Bronx Alumni Chapter's HBCU Tour, and our ongoing partnership with Human Trafficking Awareness.
Since coming here in 2013, my greatest memories of this chapter is my work with the Omega Black College Tour. Going on the tour as a chaperone is something that you never forget, being on a bus for 7 days with 45 teenagers. It's life-changing, to say the least.
I believe Psi Phi's resiliency is because we evolve. We don't just stay complacent in something that we're doing. Whether it's the Black College Tour, it's no longer what it was. We evolve it to something where it needs to be. Our social action programs are no longer just basic. We've started the human trafficking, we do the domestic violence, we do the food pantries. We make sure that whatever we're doing, we move it on to the next stage so that we're constantly evolving as society evolves.
Since the beginning of the COVID pandemic here in New York City, which was one of the first cities and states hit by it, I've been on the front lines working in the public health system here in New York City with the Health and Hospital Corporation, and particularly in this community of Harlem, at Harlem Hospital. It's one of the hospitals that was extensively hit disproportionately, you know, by COVID in terms of African Americans and Hispanics. People need to know that. And so what I did, I was able to leverage my relationships with the fraternity and with my organization, the NAACP, where I serve as a health chair, to get out the word and to educate the community by doing webinars and Zooms, you know, on a weekly basis, to provide updates and to provide the services like where can we go, not just to get PPEs, but also to, you know, to get vaccines when they became available and stuff, because there also became an equity issue.
Omega Psi Phi tends to find itself, due to the efforts of our Grand Bosselist, Dr. David Marion, of being on the side of getting vaccinated. And so to respond to your question about how we're dealing with the pandemic, we are pushing people to get vaccinated.
With recent happenings of the global pandemic, we've had to adapt to the environment where we can't necessarily be close to one another. Our work has led us to still do the community service via Zoom, but we've worked hard to still maintain that care and the precision in which we execute our programs.
So the Bronx Alumni Chapter and the Psi Phi Chapter have a long history of supporting events, whether it's fundraising events, programming events. However, through COVID, we were able to partner even more. The world went virtual and brought us all closer together. So they partnered with us on 3 events during COVID, virtual events, to help spread the word of human trafficking, spread awareness, and bring on safety messages. From there on, we continued to host further programs, and they also brought it bigger throughout the organization of Omega Psi Phi. We're partnering with some area chapters and hopefully bringing it to a regional and national level.
Zoom, 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 zoom.
It is a great triumph for the chapter to have arrived at 95 years of activity in the fraternity. There have been a lot of ups and downs. We have had many challenges. Most of them we have met, but there's still a very, very long way to go for the chapter to rise to its full potential.
My hope for Psi Phi chapter over the course of the next 90 to 95 years is that we continue to strive for more. We leave a mark on the community that says Psi Phi was here and we helped build strong, productive, affluent young minds who changed the face of Harlem, changed the face of New York City, changed the face of this country.
Personally, my connection with this chapter has pushed me to be better, to do more, to make sure that I'm not just here as a body, that we bring ideas to the table, that we push the chapter forward in itself. So not just now, but in 95 years from now, that we have something that's concrete, that's stable, that's sustainable within the community and within the fraternity.
You know, COVID brought us together even more, and I'd like to see us to do even more events together, whether it's human trafficking, college tours. Actually, we had in 2019, we had our first Black college tour hosted by the Bronx Alumni Chapter, and the Psi Phi chapter came and promoted their Black college tour, and even some of the I guess alums from the area came out to help promote, and I would like to see us do that again. That was something we have not been able to do since COVID, but we can continue to bridge the gap and work together in that respect.
My job, and I think every brother's job as a member of this organization, is to continue to advance the cause of service and to make sure our communities are continuing to grow. So that means it's doing an intergenerational approach, you know, leaning on those who came before us for advice, and the wisdom, and also mentoring the next generation, so that this beautiful thing we call the Omega Psi Phi fraternity will not die out.
As long as we maintain the chapter, the organization, we constantly have a chance for the greater good and for greatness in general. And I think there will be those things for us, but we have to be here in order for that to happen. So I keep my eye on the prize, and I keep my eye on the brothers, and the final thing, of course, is the love we share for each other and the organization. So as long as we have that, we're good money. We're in a good place.
And when I look back on the history of this country and I see the long list of Omega men who've impacted this country, that means that even now in the 21st century, that we need more Omega men to step up and be accounted for in this way, who not only take service seriously, but take their humanity seriously, to really demonstrate what it means to be a man of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated. So I count it a joy to be a part of this organization, but more than that, I live with an expectation and an anticipation of what we will do and how we will continue to impact this country in a major way to leave that Omega footprint on the United States.
Q's, get ready to roll. Q's, get ready.
Congratulations, Psi Phi chapter of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated, for celebrating 95 years of amazing work in the Harlem community and beyond.
Happy 95th anniversary to the members of Psi Phi chapter. Thank you for all the wonderful advice and mentoring and programs that we've done in partnership over the years with our community partners. Let's continue to build this wonderful organization and chapter so that our children could be a part of this great legacy.
Happy anniversary, Psi Phi chapter, for 95 years of faith, hope, and love to our community.
The 95 years of Psi Phi have been meaningful, will continue to be meaningful, and Rudy the Bros. That's it.